Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today's video is going to be a houseplant tour, part 1. So today I'm going to show you all of the plants in my bedroom, and next week I will take you in my living room and show you all the plants I have in there. I think my collection has changed a lot since I showed you guys last. I have killed a few plants. I've gained quite a lot of plants. I've moved things around, and I'm really excited to show you. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, if you guys have watched my tours before, you know I always start right on this dresser, and I have moved quite a lot of things around. I now have my Molly fish tank in here. So the very first plant is this one, and this is pretty much dying. This is my Cebu Blue Pothos, and I do have more of this plant. Don't worry, I didn't kill the entire plant, but it used to be very full and beautiful, and I repotted it and it went into shock. I did have enough cuttings to create a whole nother plant though. That one's in the living room, but this one is coming back though. It pretty much died back completely, and you can see it does have a couple new leaves and growth points coming in, so I'm not giving up on that one yet. And then right here I have a Anthurium superbum, I think. I am very new to anthuriums. I found this one at City Floral for like $15, and I really liked how big the leaves were, so I got it. And then I believe it was one of you guys who told me that that's what this one is. So, and then this one is a Hoya lacunosa. I have the long leaf version. There are a couple different versions of this plant. Mine is just all green, but it's a really easy Hoya, and I have it in its nursery pot still, just in this little decorative basket that I think I got from like the dollar area at Target. And then this one is a Sansevieria samurai. I know Sansevieria has been renamed, or they're now considered Dracaenas. However, I am still gonna call them Sansevierias. It's just a force of habit, I suppose. Okay, now we are on this little cube shelf, and the first plant over here is my Sansevieria Moonshine. It did used to have a lot more white, and it was in my living room. It wasn't getting too much light, so I moved it in here very recently in hopes of bringing more color back out, so we'll see, but it's otherwise very healthy. And here is my Hoya pubicalyx Royal Hawaiian Purple, and you can't really tell on camera. This leaf is a little darker than the others, but they usually do come in this really beautiful, like vibrant purple color, and then they fade to the green. This one is my Monstera adansonii, the narrow leaf form. This one is actually called a Monstera friedrichstahli, but I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. This one has been battling thrips, and I didn't realize for the longest time. So I've been treating it, and I haven't really quarantined it because it's been next to these plants for months, and so if it has something, the rest of them probably do, so I've just kind of been treating this whole room for thrips. This one here is a Monstera siltipicana, and I did purchase this one from Etsy. It was a lot smaller when I got it. It was just one strand, and I did clip it down and propagate it, and the pieces that I propagated are doing really well, so I think it's going to be a lot more full and happy, which is exciting. It rooted super quick, and it seems to grow very fast, so I'm not sure why it's so hard to find. When mine does grow a bit more, I'll probably sell cuttings of it if you guys are interested in that, but probably not until next summer. So stay tuned. This one is my philodendron Birkin. This is another one that I did have in the living room, and I felt it wasn't getting enough light, so I did move it in here, but super pretty. I paid a lot of money for this plant. I think I paid like $40 for this plant, and they are more readily accessible now, but I still don't regret getting it. I do really love it, and it's really happy. It grows really quickly for me as well. This is some moldy soil. This is my oxalis actually, and I recently trimmed it down. Periodically, I do cut it down to the soil because the leaves will kind of wilt and turn brown, but it does come back every single time. It's technically a weed, I believe, but you know, I'm keeping it as a house plant, of course. I know a lot of people do. And then this one is a African violet, and it's not doing too well, as you can see, but I have kept it alive for over a year now, and it doesn't really grow, but it's doing okay. And then this is a whale fin sansevieria that I got only about 3 weeks ago, and I paid $30 for this, which I thought was an amazing deal because I've seen these go for like $180. I believe that's what my friend Ashlyn paid for hers actually. And it did not have this little baby when I got it, but it's already put out this huge thing in a matter of 3 weeks, which is really cool. This one is my Hoya shepherdii. It's growing a lot right now. A lot of my Hoyas are having a growth spurt. They seem to really like the fall here where I live. On this shelf, I have a Calissia repens, and it's not very happy with me. I keep forgetting it doesn't like its leaves to be wet, so it's kind of balding there in the middle of the pot, but it does propagate pretty easily, so I might trim it back soon and stick them back in the pot. And then here I have a Tridescantia tricolor. I think some people call this one a Nanook, but it's really pretty. I love the little baby pink on there. This is another one that does not like its leaves to get wet, and I always forget, so it's not a very pretty specimen, but it's doing all right. And then here are some clippings of my Monstera. Those also had thrips, but I sprayed them down with rubbing alcohol, so they should be fine now. And then here on this shelf, I have a Peperomia clusiifolia. It's also called a jelly peperomia or peperomia jenny. And I think they come in a bunch of different colors. Mine is mostly green and white, but I also really love the red stems, and some of the red outlines on the leaves are really cool. This one is my Peperomia Hope. Over the past like 6 months or so, it's just been really loving life, which is good. Dropping down, we have my Hoya carnosa compacta or Hindu rope. These guys are notoriously slow growers, but mine has been pushing out new leaves lately, which is really exciting. This is one that I got from Home Depot at some point, and I was overwatering it and killing it, and now that I only water it about once a month, it's been doing really well. Here I have a little handmade terrarium. This was an old peppermint container from Sam's Club, and in here I have my Nepenthes that I got from Home Depot for like $6. But yeah, it's really cool. I've never had a carnivorous plant before, and it seems to really love this terrarium in here. I give it a lot of bright light, and I only water it with filtered water, and it's putting out a lot of new leaves, so I think I'm doing okay with that one. This is a Hoya carnosa, just a regular green Hoya. And you guys know how much I love Hoyas, so I of course have duplicates of pretty much every type, but I can never resist them when I see them. Next to that, I have a Peperomia glabella. I'm pretty sure that's what this is anyway. Peperomias, I'll be honest, they kind of look the same to me, so I'm never 100% sure on their identification if they're not labeled. However, after looking at photos, I'm pretty sure that's what this one is. And then right here on the ground, I have a Hoya Chelsea. There's a little clover growing in here, and I just have left it there because it seems happy. And who am I to kill a plant that I didn't ask for, you know? Anyway, Hoya Chelsea, and I recently chopped this one up, and I'm propagating the leaves in leca as a little experiment. But this one, super cool, really hard to get your hands on, and I actually found this at a local nursery over the summer. Here is my dumb cane. It is a Dieffenbachia, I forget which type, a Dieffenbachia Amoena, something like that. And it starts with an A, but I'll just call it my dumb cane. This is the one that Jessie got me for our anniversary a few years ago, and it's doing okay now. It did lose most of its bottom leaves because it was in way too big of a pot and I was overwatering it, poor thing, but it's doing really well now, thankfully. I don't know what I'd do if this plant died. It's kind of like a symbol of our relationship, so does that ever happen to you guys? When you get a plant for like a special occasion, then you are like terrified to kill it. Anyway, moving over here. Okay, so we'll start down here. This is my Marble Queen Pothos, and I've had this one for a couple years now. It grows really, really fast, and so I'm always propagating this one and giving the babies away. And I think it's a really good beginner plant. It's just kind of happy no matter what you do with it. Mine is a little thirsty right now. You can see it's kind of drooping, but that's okay. It's very forgiving. If you don't water it on time, it just bounces back. On this shelf, I have my Peperomia tetragona. This one is sometimes called a parallel peperomia. This one is Hoya retusa. This is that piece that I showed you in my Hoya collection video. It was part of a much larger plant at some point, but this is the only piece left. That's okay. And then here is a Scindapsus pictus argyrius, or a silver satin pothos. This is another one that is super easy and super forgiving, and it grows really, really fast, and I'm just really like enchanted by the leaves. I think they're so beautiful. Here I have my Black Pagoda lipstick plant, and I got this one at a little shop in the mall where it wasn't receiving any light. It was about a year ago, I think, and I have since chopped it down and propagated it so many times I can't count, and it's just so happy now. These leaves are very interesting. They're like heart-shaped almost. I wonder if it'll keep it up on this branch. That'd be kind of cool to propagate and have a whole plant of like heart-shaped leaves. Pretty cute. I have so many plants in the room that I was running out of space, so I hung one on my closet door. And this is a Dischidia ruscifolia. That's maybe how you say it. It's also called a million hearts plant because the leaves do look like tiny little hearts. And it is a relative of Hoya's. So of course I wanted it because I love Hoya's. Therefore I also love Dischidias. Alright, I have this little table over here, and down here I have my Hoya carnosa, my very first Hoya. It's been growing a lot lately, so it probably looks a little different than last time I showed you. Here is my Hoya australis lisa, and right now it has a red leaf right there, which is super pretty. And this one is a Peperomia pixie. On this part, I have my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. This is another one that I have been propagating a lot of, and I gave a lot of it to my best friend. It grows really quickly. And then here is some type of Syngonium. I don't know the exact type. I just know it's a Syngonium. I got this one at Home Depot a few years ago when it was close to death, and it's done really, really well for me. I can kind of ignore this plant and it just keeps growing and growing, so I really like that one. Okay, up here is me, hello. And then we have some pothos. So this one is a neon pothos and a marble queen. This one is made from my larger mother plant that I showed you. And then a golden pothos, and these were all longer last time I showed you, and I trimmed them down a lot and I repotted them because their roots were kind of getting crazy root bound. But they are starting to grow back since then. This is behind my bed, and I won't go into huge detail over this, but I do have a bunch of plants back here that I have been propagating for my Etsy, and they should be available in the springtime. But for now, they are just hanging out next to my bed in front of a window. And here I have some ivy. I don't know which kind, some type of helix ivy. This is one that I got from Home Depot a couple years ago. And then a Peperomia Rana Verde. Mine keeps throwing out yellow leaves, although I know I'm not overwatering it. I always make sure the leaves are very bendy before I do. I think I may have been giving it too much light, so I did recently move it over here to a lower light situation, and hopefully that'll do the trick. This one is a Senecio macroglossus, or a variegated wax ivy, and it does look like ivy, but it's actually a succulent. Mine is a little crispy right now because it was in the living room, and it's a succulent, so it wants really bright light. So I moved it in here yesterday, and I think it's gonna do better in here. I hope so. I have had one of these in the past, and it did really well in my bedroom, so I'm hoping this one will too. But look how long and beautiful it is. Oh my goodness, it's so cool. Alright, moving on, we have a variegated ivy. Just a little baby one. This one doesn't like me. That's okay. And another marble queen that I created from my own mother plant. Just in this cute little box thing. Down here I have a teddy bear vine. I don't remember what kind of plant this actually is, like the scientific name. I think it's related to Tradescantia, although I don't believe it is one. It's got really fuzzy leaves, and I've killed multiple of these before. I think maybe I was overwatering them or something, but this one's doing okay. I've had this one for maybe 6 months or more. It's doing alright. Here is my Hoya Bella in all its glory. I love this plant so much, you guys. It's so easy to take care of, and it grows so fast. And this one is one of the only Hoyas that I have that has actually bloomed for me in the past, and hopefully it will this year as well. And then down here I have another marble queen pothos. This one I like to call a snow queen because it has such a high amount of white variegation to it. Really cool. It has a bunch that are almost completely white. Look at that one. So pretty. And then in between these shelves here, I have a Sansevieria Bantel Sensation. This is a piece of a plant that I gifted to my friend Ashlyn, and it was a really big plant, and I repotted it before I gave it to her, so I did keep a little piece for myself. I had never seen this plant before, but she loves snake plants so much, so I did just pick it up for her as a little surprise. And that was also about a year ago, I believe, but this is all it's done so far. since then. There's these 3 little lines of leaves, beginning of leaves. So here I have a Hoya curtisii or curtisii. Really sweet little Hoya. It is a little more difficult than some other ones. It's got a very delicate root system, but it does propagate easily. Here's my Hoya numerarioides. It was taller when I showed you, but I did chop it down so I can propagate it. It's got little fuzzy leaves, which is always nice. This one is my Hoya lobii, or labii. It's one that when I ordered it, it arrived with a snapped stem, so I super glued it. And since then it's put out these top 3 leaves, so it's doing much better. Here's my Hoya linearis, another fuzzy Hoya. It's really cute. I had been wanting one of these for the longest time, and I ordered one online that arrived dead, so I ordered from a different seller, and this one has been doing really great since I got it. This one is some cuttings of my Black Pagoda lipstick plant, and I have it in a salsa jar because I just like it. It's quirky. Here is all that's left of my Peperomia Ruby Cascade. Peperomias don't like me. Enough said. Here is my variegated Hoya obovata. This one is in Leca. I've noticed that a lot of Hoyas really enjoy Leca, so I've been transferring a lot of them, and they've really appreciated it, I think. Next to that is my Hoya melliflua, and it was much longer when I got it. I did chop it down to propagate it. I did lose the cuttings, unfortunately, but the base plant is doing well. This one is some type of Tridescantia. I think it's sometimes called like baby bunnies or something like that. Bunnies, bellies. I'm not sure, I don't know the name of it, but it's another little fuzzy Tridescantia. It also doesn't like me. They really hate to get their leaves wet, and then they do this when you do, so. This one is that, I can't pronounce it, but it's related to a cactus. And mine was super atoliated, so I did chop it, and it's putting out little babies at the top, if you can see those. Alright, let's talk about this shelf. Some of my favorite plants are on this shelf, so I'm really excited. This one is an anthurium or flamingo plant that I got at IKEA a couple years ago, and it's currently blooming. How sweet. This one is the culprit of the thrips infestation in this room. I don't know how it got them, but it did. Maybe I left the window open too long or something, but yeah, it had thrips really bad, and I didn't know for the longest time. And so a lot of its leaves are very ugly now, very sad and spotted and yellowing, but it hasn't had bugs for the past like 3 or 4 weeks, so I think it's gonna make it. I'm gonna continue to treat this whole room with neem oil in a preventative measure, so hopefully that works. This one is my Hoya carrii with the variegation in the middle, and I'm hoping that having it in bright light is going to bring out more of the color. It hasn't grown since I got it, but it's really healthy. I think it's going to start putting something out up here because that's gotten a little bit longer, so hopefully. This one is a Hoya multiflora, and I just showed you this one in my Hoya collection video, but I failed to mention that it does have 2 peduncles, which is the part of the plant where the flowers will form. So you look right here, that is where the flowers are gonna start to come out, and it has 2 of those. It also has a little active growth point right here, and it's gonna start putting out a new leaf soon. Here is another Peperomia tetragona. I am thinking about combining both of them, but I still haven't gotten around to it. I might eventually. Here is my variegated lipstick plant. It's really beautiful. It has purple stems, and then the variegation, as you can see, is this really pretty reddish purple color sometimes. And I did trim it back recently, but it does put out some really pretty white and green speckled leaves as well. Super pretty, and this one is currently blooming. And then here is my Hoya incrustata, or incrustata. You can say it either way. I got this one on Etsy as well, and it's growing a new little stem right here. This one's not the prettiest plant, I know that. It's kind of ugly, but I still really love it. And I forgot to show you this one, I think, in my Hoya collection video. Here's another Hoya curtisii. I've propagated this one a lot over the summer, and I had it outside for a while, so it was starting to turn kind of red and yellow. Since bringing it inside, it is all green again, but it's really cool how Hoyas will turn color in bright light. Here is my favorite Hoya Crimson Queen, and it's my favorite because it puts out so many all white leaves. It's really pretty. The white leaves don't live that long because they don't have any chlorophyll, but they are really beautiful while they last. And then here is my Hoya Macrophylla albomarginata, and it's grown this entire stem in about 2 weeks. Here is my Hoya carrii albomarginata, and what that means is just the variegation is on the outside of the leaf. This leaf right here is all brand new. I really love this plant. I spent a lot of money on this plant. Before I started ordering plants online, this was the most expensive one that I owned. I paid, I think, $46 for it at a nursery. Of course, after looking online, I know there are much more expensive plants, but at the time, that was a lot of money for me for a plant. Down on this shelf, I have another Hoya Crimson Queen. Back there, I have some Hoya Chelsea. And then I have 2 little cacti. This one is a Gymnocalycium friedrichii, and this one is a Euphorbia horrida. This is probably one of my favorites. I love it. It's just so cool. Here's my string of hearts, or Ceropegia woodii. It's just a plain one. They do come in a variegated version, and then there is one that has like all silver leaves, which is really pretty, but I haven't been able to find either of those, so I'm still on the hunt. I'm currently propagating this, and I just have the little leaves and nodes in some sphagnum moss. I have some on either side. And then in this little cubicle, I have another Hoya Crimson Queen. I have a lot of these. And then I have a Caralluma. I don't know the exact kind, it just says Caralluma spa. I think it's related to a lifesaver plant. The flowers look quite similar. And he's waving hello. Down here I have another empty cup. This was this was a peperomia pixie. I chopped it down to the dirt thanks to thrips. And this is another one that was very guilty of spreading the bugs all over the room. That's why it kind of looks unhappy and angry right now. I'm also unhappy and angry about the bugs. But yeah, as I'm turning the leaves over, I'm not seeing any actively. So hopefully the treatment's working and the bugs will be gone and this one will perk back up. But this is a Philodendron Brazil, and the leaves are super interesting. They're always a different color. They kind of start as this pinkish orange color and then they fade to this like yellow and green. Really cool. On this shelf I have yet another Hoya Crimson Queen. This is my smallest one. I think I paid like $3 for this and I just loved it. Here is a watermelon peperomia. This is my second one. I actually killed the first one that I had. I'm not sure how. This one's been doing very well though, and there's actually an earthworm that lives in this pot. I noticed it one day when I was watering my plant, and then the worm was poking out the bottom. If I lift it up here, you can see worm castings. So this plant is getting free fertilizer non-stop and aeration, which is kind of cool. And I sometimes will collect the little worm castings there and put them into my other plant soil. So kind of interesting. On this shelf I have a Hoya Crinkle 8. This one was not doing very well for the longest time, and then over this past summer it's just exploded with growth and it's been amazing. It's really loving life right now. And then here I have my Hoya Crimson Princess. I only have one of these currently. I used to have a bunch of them. I have either traded them or given them away, but another really pretty Hoya, really easy. Okay, I have another little side table over here, and I have a lot of Hoyas on this table. This one is a Hoya Australis, and this was my very first Hoya Australis. I was killing it for a while, and then it put out this whole new branch, and every one of these shiny leaves is new over the past couple months. And if you give it bright light, it does put out these really pretty brown burgundy leaves at first, and then they fade to this lovely dark green color. Really cool plant. And then here's another Hoya Australis. This one is subspecies tenuipes. I did order this one on Etsy, and it's growing a lot since I got it a couple months ago. Here's one that is labeled Hoya Australis, although I really don't know what it is. It's got really fuzzy leaves, which my other Australis do not have. And the leaf shape is a lot pointier. So I'm not really sure what this is. It might just be some type of Australis subspecies, but I felt compelled to buy it just because it's a Hoya. If you know what this might be, let me know. And then here is my Hoya fungii. It was in moss, but I recently transferred it to leca. I don't really prefer moss. I think moss causes rot a lot, and I didn't really want to take any risks with this plant because I love it so much. And then here I have a little peperomia rosso. It's hanging in there. Like I've said, peperomias really don't like me, but this one's still alive and it's still growing, so I'm gonna consider that a win. Down here, I just have a Hoya pubicalyx. This one is the silver pink. Mine currently has no pink on it, otherwise I would show you. I don't think it's getting a lot of light down here, but that's okay. And And then here I have a Schefflera. This is the one that's like it's a dwarf Schefflera, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it'll get quite large. I think it stays very small, but it's really interesting. I always thought that these little pieces were the leaves, but the leaf is actually this entire kind of flower-shaped thing. And then here is my lemon tree, and it's flowering right now. Really cute. It's a dwarf Meyer lemon tree. And I had it outside for a while, and it was so unhappy outside. It got sunburned and was droopy and sad no matter how much sun and water I gave it. And so I brought it in here, and it's doing way better in here, and now it's flowering. So I've wanted a lemon tree for the longest time, so Jesse just got me one day. And that is the last plant in my bedroom. So that is going to be everything for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week with part 2. Bye!